Hey, everybody. Welcome to another, I think it's episode 5 of I Told You Show. And guess what time it is? It's time for,
Rumor Roundup.
here we are, Rumor Roundup. Good evening, Candy. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Alan, how have you been? I know we took a little break from each other, so
Yeah, well, everybody needs a little time apart.
yeah. I
No,
missed you though.
no, we had to get some work done and get some other things done. And here we are.
Yep, we're all back at it. But here we are still discussing things that are of importance.
Yes, we never stopped.
No, we never stopped. We just took a little, maybe a breather, I guess you want to call it, for a couple of days and then got hit with all this stuff that we're going to talk about today.
Well, we had a 1 week vacation, and basically because we were switching internet over to AT&T, and in the middle of the switch over, they went on strike.
Oh,
So we have fiber optic running to the outside of the building, and that's where it ended. So,
oh my gosh.
but at any rate, so today, what are we going to discuss?
We have a lot of subjects to discuss, especially since we took the week off, and then we've had a city council meeting. We've had a city council member resign their seat. So
Oh.
we have a lot of
A lot of
rumors.
stuff.
A lot of rumors. So I guess to say, firstly, is I wanted to say personally, thank you for running for mayor. I know it was a lot of work, and I know it was a lot of stuff, and I'm happy that you did it. But I'm sort of glad you didn't win because I think we can reach more people and make more good without constraints, I guess is what I mean.
Well, I'll tell you, I
Sure.
appreciate that. I really do. And I promised my wife last time I wouldn't run for an office again, and I ran again. So I broke that promise, which I take to heart. But I made her the promise again. So I will not be running for an office again. However,
We won't push you, I promise.
yeah, well, you know what I noticed? And this is the God's honest truth. I noticed I ran for office basically because I wanted to make sure that the people had a voice in City Hall.
Yep.
And I don't think they do to a great extent. And I'm not sure they will in the future. However, you proved to me with the flooded and Flagler issue, with all the issues, that if we can get a loudmouth group together and go to the city council meetings and pressure city council often enough and hard enough, we can actually move them to do something from outside of the office. So
I
yeah,
agree.
I lost the run, but I think I won because now we can push and make things happen.
And we can push and make things happen. And that's another thing. There's a lot of, I guess, want to say ladies in the community that have been involved in your campaign and other people's campaigns that we have all kind of bonded over this campaigning
Yeah,
issue that we've
yeah.
been having. A lot of us have bonded, and we're not all in the same party, but I have found that a lot of us have the same love for Palm Coast and the
And that's
same
what it's about.
goals to change things for the better. So they've formed a group called the Nerd Herd and have elected me to be the voice of the things that they are talking about at the time.
So you're king herd, a queen herd.
I guess I'm the queen herder. I don't know. So I get to talk about the things that that are important, and they are things that are important. But these ladies do a lot of research, a lot of real research. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of documentation to prove the things that they are talking about
Sure.
and all that. So they'll be researching all the candidates that are running for the different offices still, looking at campaign donations, addresses, length of addresses, criminal history, all those types of things. And they will be vetting people that they like and people that they don't like, all by the same standards.
You know, what I find interesting is when you run for office through the campaigning thing, there's no criminal background check required. When you run to be, or I guess you're not running, but when you apply to be appointed to like the new District 4 seat since councilperson Kathy Hyder resigned, you have to go through a background check.
Right.
So why do you go through a background check to be appointed but not a background check to be elected?
It should be a standard. You should be appointed,
It's-
and there should be certain things that take you out of the running if you're running. Like if you go to apply to be, let's say, a law enforcement officer, you have to have a criminal background. And if you have one
Sure.
or two DUIs, you are not chosen to go on to the next step of being a police officer.
Sure.
And that should be something that I feel that is, they should, the charter or however the rules are set for that need to be kind of adjusted, I think.
And I believe that I'm the only candidate. Well,
You showed yours.
I showed mine.
You
I
did
had
show
a
it.
background check done, and I showed it.
Yep.
And, contrary to some of the rumors that are out there, I don't have a criminal
It's
background.
a clean slate.
Yeah.
Saw it for myself.
Yeah.
So speaking of the seat that's open, I just wanted, again, to reiterate, like I did at City Council, if you didn't see it yet, the mayor hinted around at having somebody rent in the district to be able to run for the seat. And I objected to that heavily because I don't feel somebody that just moved into Palm Coast from somewhere else knows the district or the city for that matter. It takes a while to learn everything. I mean, I can attest to that. I've learned a lot of stuff that I didn't want to know, but
Yeah, well,
it's just stuff during the process of researching what was going on at my home, all the things that I've found out. So there
Well,
are people
let me-
throwing their hat in for that seat.
but
already.
let's look at some history. In the city council race prior, 2 years ago, city council person Teresa Pontieri did not live in District 2 that she ran for at the time that she was running. She did not move into, and I know where she lives because she moved down the street from me, and I know when she moved in, but so she didn't live in the district when she applied to run for the district. It's not a requirement. It's just a requirement that
by the time you're sworn in.
by the time yeah, you have to live in the district, which she did do. So she lived in but when we're talking about how long have you been in a district to know what's going on in the district, she was there prior to the primary, probably 3 weeks. So nothing, I'm not saying anything against her.
Right, because she's actually turned out to be doing a great job.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not saying anything against her for that. But when we're talking about other people that might move into a district to run or whatever, it's not all that unusual for that to happen.
Yeah, we're just going to have to, look at those people and, how long they lived at said address and how have they been involved and, any, you have to look at all those things.
Yeah.
And you have to look at other properties they own. There's a lot of different ways you can check and vet people. So
Sure.
the Nerd Herd promised everybody that they were going to do that, and I'll be the one to tell you what they find and all that. And it's going to be fair across the board, whether it's somebody we all support or somebody we don't support. We're still going to do all the same digging so the voters have all the information to make a choice.
And I think that's excellent.
Right. So just so we can get this off my list, because it was the most recent conversation I had, Daryl Boyer and I did speak maybe an hour ago, and he is running for District 4.
He's applied.
He's
There's-
applied.
There's no run.
No running, sorry. He's applied for District 4. And everybody's been questioning his address already. So just let me tell you from the horse's mouth what he said. His parents, where he grew up and was raised, was in the C section.
Right. Which is District 2.
Right. While he was gone to school, college, they moved to the E section. And I may have the sections backwards. I may have E and C backwards, but they moved to the other section. When he moved back, he has a home in the R section. Okay, so his address is a protected address just because of his childhood history and trauma that he went through.
Right.
So that's why his address is protected. So Daryl just didn't move magically into Palm Coast and all of a sudden want to apply for the district. He has lived here his whole life. He has ran for other offices and he has recently been vetted for those offices. So, and he is against all the overdevelopment and he has a lot of the same goals that our groups have.
Sure.
So that's the scoop on Daryl's address. If anybody wants to know anything different, please let me know because, like I said, I just spoke to him myself, and that's
Well,
the dealio on his address.
I'd also like to say and give an invitation. Daryl, I'd love to have you come on the podcast, and you can answer these questions in person, and we can get it straight from you. I believe everything that Candy's saying right now, but it would be more of an impact for your
For him.
supporters if you came and did it straight.
And especially, he told me why he threw his hat in so early, and he told me why he was doing it. I think it would be great to have him on the show
Sure.
so everybody could hear that from him, because what he told me was, I mean, I couldn't have asked him to say anything better, and he's been here longer than me. So, you know,
Yeah, well, he grew up here.
you have to look at the people that have been here a while, that have seen the changes in Palm Coast and see where things are going. And we're trying to keep here from turning into there.
Yeah.
Wherever there is where you came from, you think it's okay here now, but we've seen it turning into where you left, and we don't want it to become that. Well, neither do you. You wouldn't have left where you left from to start with. So just be thinking about that when you guys want to start voting
Sure.
on things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you have the invitation. Come on down.
Yep. So the next thing is the Alfin Bonds.
Big subject.
Yeah, it's a big subject that caused a big argument at City Council on Tuesday between the mayor and Councilman Danko, because Councilman Danko read the language after speaking with a few people and realized that the language that he signed on for wasn't really what he thought it was. It wasn't really
Right.
what the package wasn't what he thought it was.
And whether you're a Danko supporter or not a Danko supporter, and apparently given the last race, it's 50-50.
Yep,
Pretty much within a 50 vote spread. But you have to admit, of the city council people sitting up there, he is the only one that brought out the facts of the way that bond amendment is written, that it will give the city all the power in the world to spend as much money as they want in the world, and could potentially
term it out as long as they want. They can
yeah.
term it out they can get a $90 million loan for 25 years if they want, without us even signing on to that.
We
and
have
agreeing to
no
it.
say.
We don't want that. We want to say on what we're going to be paying while we're here, and what our grandkids or our kids that are staying here are going to be paying.
And right now there's a $15 million cap on bonds. That doesn't mean you can't sell 2 bonds and make $30 million. Right? That's just per bond. Well, they want to remove the cap. They could spend up to $90 million, which is, oddly enough, actually $93 million is the price I heard recently for the sports complex that they want to build out in the westward expansion. And according to Councilman Danko, that's the whole thing behind these bonds. They want to be able to enter into this never-ending private-public partnership with whoever it is that wants to build that complex, and then they want to be able to have the people of Palm Coast pay for that complex so that the investor can then come in and make money off it.
But we have no say on what it is, how much it is, where it is, or anything. They just get to do it. No, that's a hard no
can't
for
happen.
me.
Can't happen.
No, we can't. The charter was written for a reason, the way it was written. Now, there are some things in the charter that need to be revisited, but that's a whole nother podcast subject.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
We're going to get into that because we all know that there's some things that need to be rewritten. But right now we're worrying about the election, vetting people, getting the truth out there.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also talk about voting in Palm Coast, since we're kind of sort of on that subject.
Sure.
Voting here is very confusing for some people. Because when you are a Republican or a Democrat, you get 2 separate ballots. They're not the same ballot. They look completely different.
Yes.
Even in the nonpartisan races. But we got a national election coming up now, along with the rest of our local elections. So that's where it gets kind of sticky and people get confused. Because on the ballot, they're going to see all the different county seats open and all the different city seats open, and a lot of people think they can only check the box for the district or zone that they particularly live in, and they've been leaving the other boxes open.
Right.
So do not leave anything open on your ballot. If it is on your ballot, you can vote for that square. Each square is a different section. One's county, one's city, one's local, one's national. Don't leave any of the squares open.
No.
You're wasting your vote. You need to vote for all the people, because they're at large.
Yeah, that's where I was about to say. Now, your county commissioners, they have specific districts, and they have to live in the districts. Your city council members, they have, of course, the district numbers are different, so that just to confuse everybody. But they have to live in their districts as well. And the trick is that although they have to live in the district, their position is at large. They are working with the entire city. So voters might think that they have to vote for the person that represents their district but the truth of the matter is you vote for all districts for
As a
all
whole.
people, right?
So you got to look at them as a whole. You got to look at all the open seats in the city as a pie. What kind of pie do you want? We don't want a crap pie. We want a nice cream pie. I do dessert, so I have to compare it to a pie. So you want to make sure all the pieces of the pie are good.
Right.
So you have to look at all the people as a whole, and you have to go in there and know who you're going to vote for each seat, because it's very important that we have a really big chance to get all the right people in there that are,
At last.
they've been here for a while. They're tired of all the overdevelopment. They hear us. They realize why we're upset, what we want change, what we want to keep. Like they hear us. So we need to finish that off now and finish the rest of the voting, which is going to get us into the upcoming mayoral election and that subject
Sure.
that we were going to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, on county commission, you know, you have a little R or a D next to the name of the people that are running for those offices. For the city, there is no R and D. There's no party affiliations listed on the ballots.
Right.
So it's up to each individual person to pick the right person, not the right party, for the city positions.
And anybody that's voting or that's been any kind of sort of political, it's hard to go in and vote and not know locally if you're voting for an R or a D. That's very hard for some people. I was of that same notion, but I've learned through working through this local election, and now I see it happening locally where, you know, we've been working with some people that are Democrats. We're both Republicans.
Yes.
But we've been working with some people that are Democrats. And
On the
we
campaign
learned.
trail, yes.
Yes, and we learned from them, and they've learned from us. And it's actually how it used to be. You have really spirited conversations, but then you can clink your beer and have dinner together and everybody go home and still be friends.
Yeah, exactly.
So we have to all work together. So just remember, in local elections, you have to not worry about the R and the D.
And one of the things to think about on that is, you know, a lot of people, they only want to vote in a presidential election, not the local primaries and the local election. But, you know, whoever becomes president doesn't set your millage rate for your property tax.
Right.
Whoever becomes president doesn't set the amount that you pay for your garbage bill, for your water bill, for your electric bill, and they might a little bit with the fuel, but in essence,
For the most part, no. Local elections
exactly.
are the most.
So all of the issues that are affecting us locally, the money that we need for the streets, our water treatment plant, all of the infrastructure, that has nothing to do with who becomes president of the United States. That has to do with who's sitting in the city council seats. And that's why it's so extremely important that people become knowledgeable and vote for the right person
Right.
locally.
Right. And you have to remember that the mayor is just one of the votes up there.
He only gets one
He
vote,
only
just like
gets
everybody
one.
else.
So if the mayor is not working with the other people on council that are maybe doing something that we've been asking them to do, that's not going to be good either. We want somebody that's going to work with the people in the council. We want somebody that's got the same vision that the people in the council have,
Yes.
the same vision that we have.
And
they,
not
they
both-
work for us. We don't work for them. They work for us.
And I'm going to go out and get some enemies right now and say that the two people that are running for mayor, one of them has an ego that will not allow him. I said him, so I guess you know which one I'm talking about because it's a he and a she, to work with other people if they get under his skin. And I've experienced it. Other candidates, not for mayor, but other candidates for races that had nothing to do with the mayoral race have experienced it. And, you know, personally, I don't think it's the right person.
Well, we don't want somebody that is talking at us.
Yes.
We want somebody that's talking with us and listening to us and taking what we're saying not for granted, but as like respectfully, because we're taking our time out to come to you with these problems, these issues, solutions, or whatever.
Right.
You can't have somebody running the city that is viewed as abrasive, first of all.
Right.
You can't have somebody running the city that is using salty language towards women, no matter what the excuse, because there is not one.
No.
And
I've been attacked. Let me tell you, I have been brutally attacked as I've run for office over the last couple of years.
And you've never done that.
I've never done that.
You've never done that.
You have to have thick enough skin to let it all roll off your back, and you just keep pushing forward to the goal, which
Right.
is the city. When you get sidelined, worrying about, he said I might not be the right guy on Facebook or a podcast, and you flip your lid over it, you're the wrong guy.
Right. If you're going to get that upset, what's going to happen when we're up there doing our 3 minutes as residents, and we've not said nice things all the time to Mayor Alfin up there, and I don't see him doing that. I mean, he keeps decorum. He uses the Roberts rules. He keeps decorum.
Yes.
I mean, Mike Norris doesn't already follow the Roberts rules, and he's not even a sworn official yet. Because
See, I didn't mention his name.
Sorry, I will, because I don't have a problem with it, because I'm trying to give people the information. You can't have somebody that does their campaign donations themselves and makes mistakes and then gets upset when people call it out. You can't elect somebody that doesn't know the rules of the dais that he wants to sit on, which are the Roberts rules, and you can't call a point of order unless you are on the dais, a sworn person, a sworn member. Mike, I read the rules for you, and I reviewed them for you, so if you'd like a copy, I know you know my email address, and I know you know my phone number, so I'd be happy to send it to you, but you can't stand in the audience and call point of order. I've seen him do it 2 times, and it's very intimidating to the people that are up on the dais, and I feel it's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the right to call that. So if he's not already following the rules, what's going to happen when and if he gets elected?
I agree.
That's all I'm saying. You just got to watch out for these things, because it's just a red flag to me.
And I want to say, I'm not supporting either of them, but I am opposed to one of them.
I understand that. And we're going to have her on here. We're going to have Cornelia on here. We invited her a couple of days after the election was over.
And she accepted.
And she did accept. She's just been out of town.
Yeah.
So she's going to be on here. Daryl's going to be on here. We're trying to still get Andrew on here. He told me he would, so we'll see if we can't get him on here.
All right.
So we're going to try to interview everybody on here that everybody is interested in. So just know that there are people that have all banded together after the election's over and the dust is settled, and they're still working on things that are important to the city, because we love the city and we just want to make it better. And some of the things that are
Right.
going on are not up on top of board to me. Some of the
Right.
things are a little bit fishy.
And that's never ended.
It has never ended. So just remember to vote no on the Alfin Bonds, and also look into 3 and 4. I've looked into 3 and 4 that are going to be on the national ballot, and I think I'm going to vote no.
You mean Amendment 3 and 4?
Amendment 3 and 4 that are on the national ballot, and
I'm going to vote no on both of them.
I'm
I can
voting
tell
no
you
on
that.
both of them, and I wanted to end with this today because I wanted to tell a personal story.
Sure.
I know you're going to have my friend Cindy Campaign's daughter on here. She's a doctor. Cindy's son.
Cindy Camp Spain.
Candy Camp Spain. Yes, her,
Right.
I'm tired. Her son passed away from drug addiction, and I had a different view on that amendment before I spoke to her the other day. But I talked to everybody, and I've known her for some time, and we had a really nice conversation the other day. And during that conversation, I told her that I didn't have a problem with people using medical marijuana as long as they were monitored by a doctor.
Right.
Because I feel like that keeps people from going over the edge like her son. And as I said that aloud, texted it, it made me realize I can't vote yes. I have to vote no, because if you vote yes, everything I
It's
just
just
said to
open.
myself is gone.
Right.
So she changed my mind by having me have the conversation with her. So you got to look into what you're voting for, because sometimes the meat, you get some crap along with the meat, and you don't want that.
Yeah. And one of the big issues with it is they don't have a way to test to tell, and I don't know if these are the right terms, but they don't have a way to test your intoxication level, whether you smoked the marijuana while you were driving down the road or whether you smoked it an hour or 2 hours
Right.
before. There's
There
no
is
way to tell.
No, it's just in your system or it's not in your system.
Right.
That's
so
it.
because of that, and because of the impairment that it brings on, if you look at Colorado, which is a year or two now into no restriction on it, the traffic accidents and everything have gone sky
They probably
high,
have.
and I don't want that here. I don't want people
We
to
don't
be.
need more traffic accidents
No.
here. The traffic's already bad enough
No.
here. Our roads are already crowded. that's a whole nother issue if we have to evacuate. But I'd like to do some research and talk about that subject at some time
Yeah, I
too.
had to evacuate during the fires. I can tell you stories about that.
I would like to discuss that too, since we're in hurricane season.
And then we have
all
Amendment
this out there.
4.
Yeah,
Amendment 4.
I'm voting no on Amendment 4 just because they said that they can, you can terminate the pregnancy up until the last toe comes out. No,
Yeah.
nope.
No.
That's barbaric.
Yeah. I mean,
That's not America.
I can't deal with that either. No.
No,
No.
I just can't. I know there's exceptions, but that is like,
I mean, not to that stage.
no, they need to take that. If that wasn't in there, it would be probably a harder decision for some people to make, yes or no. But if they're going to leave, just like wording on the bonds,
Yeah.
if you're going to leave it worded that way, we're going to vote no.
Right.
And they're going to leave both of these amendments worded the way they are. So I just say vote no on all of it because they're not listening to what the people really want, in my opinion.
And sadly, they seldom do.
Yeah, and that's my opinion. And I'm so glad that everybody was excited to hear this episode again. We try to bring you helpful information. You guys can always shoot questions to me and shoot questions to Alan,
Yeah.
things that we can look into because we can come on here and talk about them next Friday. So just let us know.
Yeah. Well, everybody, it's been great to have you on here. And I just want to remind everyone that this podcast is being sent out and produced and all that stuff at the Flagler Voice podcast studio, and it's open to anybody that wants to come in and
You
do
can do it too.
podcasts.
Yep.
And or do a business podcast, do a personal podcast. That's what this studio is about. It's to get your voice out to the people.
Right.
So everybody, have a great week, and we will be back next Friday.
See you next week.
All right, awesome. See you later, everybody.